My lords, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to episode number 4 of the Japanese scene playthrough on Transport Fever 2. Today's episode starts out at the cargo station that serves Uenomori, as well as the food production plant just on the outskirts of Uenomori. And as you can quite clearly see from the image in front of you right now, I have done a bit of work off camera and I've gone ahead and just put a few assets down in this area just to bring it to life just a little bit more. I did that while I was waiting for some money to accumulate prior to starting this episode, just so there wouldn't be a lot of waiting around in the episode for the money to build up so we can do what we want to do. I've also made a few other changes to the network between this episode and episode number 3, and I'll quickly talk through those before we get started. So before we do get started, let's bring up the user interface. As we can see, we've got a healthy bank balance at the moment, just under 6 million yen, and a cash flow of just under 700,000 yen per year for the last 12 months. So looking good and looking rosy so far. So let's have a look at what's changed between these episodes. Well, as I said, the first thing is just a few cosmetic tweaks around here, nothing affecting the gameplay of course, just put down a few assets. Didn't really have anything in mind, just chucked a few things down just to fill up the space because it looked very empty. And this sort of station, you would imagine in reality, would be quite a busy hub, and that's what I wanted to reflect as best as I could here. So that's that. I have also double tracked the entire length of the line between Uenomori and Uejima. Obviously we do have it triple tracked here, we did that in the last episode and that has been extended ever so slightly. It now crosses this road here up to the rice fields in the mountains. So yes, the rest of this track is now all dual tracked. If you remember, we tried to do it in the last episode but we didn't have enough funds to be able to double track through this tunnel, so that has now been done. Everything is working fine. I have modified this station, I've repositioned it, I've put the largest capacity road possible out front, and as you can see here I have done a bit of terraforming work in anticipation of laying down the rail tracks between Uejima and Izumimachi just over here. Obviously that's where we left it last time around. What I've also done, as you may be able to notice right here, I've changed the platform and roof styles to the Japanese modded platforms and roofs. So that just adds a bit of immersion to the station, and I've also increased the station building size as you can see right here. Again, with Uejima being the capital city on our map, that is just to make it a little bit more immersive, as the capital city is going to have quite a dominant station. So that's just a bit of future proofing on that end, so it's done and ready to go. They've built that road there, I don't want that there or that there. Eventually we will have a bus station or tram station or a combined bus tram terminus here to serve the passenger station, and hopefully we'll get that done in today's episode. A little further down the way I have rerouted this road. If you remember, it did come across here originally and link up to this little corner piece here. That's now been changed, so we only have the one road crossing on this train line. And the other thing I've done is, as you can see, I've double tracked it all the way to the station as well. The final change is we now have 2 trains running on this line. That was something we discussed in the previous episode as well, so that has now been implemented and that is running quite nicely. One very final change, and I do promise this is the final alteration. I've deleted the tracks that were running through here and I've had them drop into the earth just a little. That'll allow us to put a bridge over this cargo line so our passenger line isn't getting snarled up and held up by our freight trains as they are coming and going, and vice versa. The freight trains don't have to wait for a passenger line in order to get clearance, so that just keeps them nice and separate and keeps things flowing as smoothly as possible. Okay, so that's enough of that. That is all the changes that have been made. So now let's go ahead and start today's episode proper. As I said at the end of the previous episode, we are going to make a start on our passenger network, and that's why we have this station here for Uejima. And our first port of call is going to be over here in Uenomori. What we're going to do, we're going to put our station along here. So we'll do that straight away, just so the AI don't continue to build out and block up the space. We'll go for the largest length platform available straight away. And we'll put that, get it nicely just there like that. And it's already named itself Uenomori rather than Uenomori North or Central or something like that. So don't need to change the station name there. And now we can go ahead and lay in our passenger lines. So we want to be heading in this sort of direction, and in fact I think it's going to be a better idea if we head out from here first. So we're going to want a bridge over here. Okay, let me just try that again, because when I was testing this it was possible to get a bridge directly without having to play about with the track heights. I can just find the position. Oh, there it is. How far can we curve it while keeping the bridge? Just there looks about the extent. So we don't want the invisible bridge, of course, so let's go ahead and pick the stone bridge because that's the only one we have available right now. Now it has messed up these tracks and signals, but we can fix that quite easily. So first of all, we're going to confirm construction of the bridge, and then what we're going to do is put a track there. Okay, we can't put one on that side unfortunately, but if we delete that track now, it has removed the bridge pillar from the right hand side of the tracks as we're looking at it. It doesn't look like we're going to be able to do the same over here. Try it one more time. No, we got the bridge pillar collision. Obviously it's trying to put the feet down now on the track itself, which is basically what we're trying to avoid here. So for the time being, we'll just have to... Ooh, can we put up with that though, because it is really encroaching on the tracks, and while it won't impact the trains or stop them in any way, it just looks a little bit strange, so we'll do what we can to avoid that. Maybe if we come to there, in fact we want to go a bit straighter looking at where the station is over there, so this might actually be better all around. Let's see what the bridge looks like here. Okay, again we've got that encroachment. I think what we'll do is we'll just have the bridge selected and we'll play about and... oh, there we go. That is perfect. That's exactly what we wanted it to do, and it's keeping it clear of the train line underneath, which is really good. Right, so let's crack on. So I think we should now be able to just do a straight track into there. Well, I don't mean straight as in straight, I mean with no intermediate steps, and it's worked out quite nicely. We have a little bit of a tunnel through this little hillside here. Would we prefer no tunnel? How does that look? Yeah, I quite like that. It's more expensive, but that's not a problem. I mean, it's only, well, it's less than 300,000 even with the cutting, so we can afford that. Yeah, so that's what we'll do. What we're also going to do while we're here is just get the eraser and just run it along this hillside here, and that just removes the trees that are ever so slightly too close to the rail line, like so. Just keeps it looking nice and tiny. Yeah, I can't complain with that. That looks absolutely fine. We have the bridge over the cargo line, and we have the connection into both stations. Now, if you cast your mind back to episode number 1, I did discuss a possibility of just using the one depot for all the lines, both cargo and passenger. If we're going to stick to that, we do need a way to get from this depot onto this new line here. Now, I think the most obvious solution would be to come off somewhere around here, climb up and then link in, and would also, if it's possible, off their same link track have one what bends back on itself, so then the trains as they're leaving can head this way or off this way. Let's have a little play about with that and see if it is at all possible. So the first thing we want to do is come away from the existing tracks there. Now, we certainly don't want that to be happening, because while it would work, it just looks horrendous, of course. So if we drop it down, that's too far. Going the other way there. That gives us a nice flat crossing point here, which is what we're looking for. Now we are going to have to boost this up quite considerably to hit this passenger line here. We're also going to want to come out to the side as much as we can, because like I just said a few moments ago, ideally we also want to be able to loop around and back in that way, as well as going straight on. So if we do that, how does that look down here? That looks pretty fine to me. I'm not concerned about the speed, of course, because this is just to get the trains onto the lines. Does that give us enough space there? No. Let's go a little bit further back. Again, too much curvature. Okay, we might have left it a little bit too tight here. I'm sure there is a place in this area where this will work. It's just finding that sweet spot. That is very tight though, isn't it? I think, what about if we go right to the bridge? So that's how it wants to be. That's the minimum we can have it with the looks of it. So you can see the sort of how far off we are there. It's a good couple of meters, so that unfortunately is not going to work. Okay, so let's just rethink this then. Let's get rid of all that we've just put down. Okay, I think the best solution, and it is going to go against what I set for myself in the first episode, is to have another train depot. And what we'll do, instead of having one serving all the lines, is we'll have one for the cargo lines, aka this depot here, and then we'll have one for our passenger lines, which we'll put somewhere around here, and then that will connect into this line in both directions. And with our passenger lines all being linked, because that's a self-imposed rule I will be observing for this series, then we know that every passenger train has access to this depot, or rather I should say this depot has access to every passenger line that we end up creating for ourselves. So we'll do it that way instead, I think. So what we're going to need out here is a train depot. I'm going to set it a fair distance away from this line here, simply because we may have future lines and expansion through here, and we don't want to block ourselves in with this depot. So we left ourselves plenty of room to add in extra cargo lines in the future. However, for now we can just focus on connecting all this together. Again, the speed isn't a priority here. There, that will work quite nicely. Just a bit of detailing work. I don't like this landscaping here. I'm just going to flatten and smooth all of that off. There we go. Obviously this will also have to be smoothed out at some point, and in fact while we have the tool open, we may as well just go ahead and do it now. Okay, that's made a god-awful mess right there. Oh my god, that has just... Jesus, that's it, it's made it even worse. Okay, right, problem. How now do we get away with that? No, it's just putting water in there, Okay, I'm going to come back to that and do it between episodes, I think. This random square of water shouldn't impact our trains for the remainder of this episode, I hope, so we can leave that for now. And as I just said, between episodes, I'll find a way to deal with that, because that's not what I was wanting it to do at all, and it's just made it rather ugly. So we'll just have to pretend for the rest of this episode that that isn't a thing. For now, let's just focus on smoothing this out just to make it a lot more natural looking. There we go. And some of these road work, they've rebuilt those roads again. Look at them, the cheeky buggers. Well, if that's what they want to do, in fact, no, you're not doing that. You're not doing that at all, because, and I tell you why, I want to have that space for myself, and we're putting a station in here. And we'll put tram tracks on the station already, even if we're not necessarily going to run any trams at this point in the series. At least the tram lines are ready for when we do decide to put the tram network in. There. And before they get any clever ideas. Let's link these in to the roads as well. That's probably better linking into there to make that one big junction. Although saying that, let's just redo this just a little, and we'll keep this all high capacity road. There we go. I don't know what they're doing with that, but we'll get rid of it temporarily. If they want to build it back when we're done doing what we need to do, and that's up to them. Okay, that's making quite an aggressive bump right there. So let's stretch it out a bit. That's better. Yeah, we'll go for that. And what about over here? How does it look over here? That's not as bad as it was over the other side, so we'll live with that. Okay, now you're free to do whatever you want in this area. I've got in place what we need to have, so I'm happy with that. Okay then, so before we set up the line and purchase our first passenger train, we of course need to get a way for our passengers to get in and out of this station and into the city of Uwajima itself. Now we do have quite a lot of money available, as we can see, over 3.5 million. And is that going to be enough, do we think? Look at the traffic in here, by the way, that is horrendous. That's what's causing this backlog. It's all the people. Oh, it's this. It's waiting to cross this, I guess. There's a train just left. And we've got 2 there, so it could have been that caused the problem. Right, what I think we're going to do here is help them out a little bit. And we're going to get rid of all of this. They're not going to be happy, but they will be in a moment when I make it a lot better for them. Okay, so we're back, and this is as good as I could get it, and believe me, I was trying for quite a while to get this to work the way I wanted it to, and in the end I just had to settle for this. It's not the best, but it's certainly going to help the traffic flow, because the cars, or I should say the horses and carts for the time being, they're no longer going to have to wait while a freight train passes on through, so that's a lot more ideal, and it should keep the traffic flowing a little bit better through Uwajima. Now, before I notice that traffic, I was going to discuss the possibility of pausing the game, which I've now done. No, I was going to think about putting a central passenger station somewhere in Uwajima, but I think now, looking at the money, we won't have enough to be able to do that. At some point we will put one in the city centre, but as I said, that's not something we're going to be able to achieve right now. So instead we're just going to have to use the regular bus stops that we have on the side of the streets to get people in and out of our station. Now I think if we put a bus stop just here, that has enough reach to cover the surrounding area bus stops. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 that it covers, so the passengers can travel or walk between this bus stop and the 4 that are nearby to get on one of the other lines if that's what they're needing to do. Ideally, as I said, we'd have a central exchange, but to do that we would have to demolish quite a lot of either residences or industries, and that's just going to be too cost prohibitive at this stage. So as a temporary measure, we're just going to use this, and this is going to be a link line from this point here out to the passenger station up here, and we'll just rename that to Uwajima Station. That's the bus station that we just renamed there, not the station itself. So let's get this line set up then. So straight in and out. There we go. So you're opting to do that, are you? Well, let's put you onto platform 2 there. That's better. That way you're not looping around on the station. I tell you what, you may as well hit this bus stop as well, since you're heading that way. I wouldn't know, that wouldn't work. I was thinking if we put a road across this little bit here, then we could send it to here as well. But then it would be coming all the wrong way to get to this this bus stop here. Unless, of course, we repositioned it down to here, that would work. Yeah, I think we'll do that. So we'll just leave that as it is for the time being, go back to the street tool. This is going to be expensive, but that's fine. So we're going to put that there. We're going to use that stop. We'll get rid of that one. And we'll relocate it, as I said, just a little further down the street, like that. It's picked it back up on the line, which is fantastic. And it also now gives us the option to head into there as well. So that will do for the time being. It's not the most efficient, but just to get things rolling, it's going to work nice enough. And this is bus service, and we'll just call this Uwajima Station. So it doesn't have a number assigned to it like its two fellow bus lines here. Instead, it's just bus service and then Uwajima Station. Likewise, the link service between Uwajima and Izumimachi doesn't have a number assigned to it either. And that will just distinguish them between the buses that run within a city's limits and the more specialised services, such as ones to our passenger stations or the ones that we have travelling between cities. Just going to run at times 4 for a few moments, just let some money build back up. While that's happening, we'll put a inner city bus throughout Izumimachi, and that'll allow the passengers to get away from the station and wherever they need to go in this city. So we'll have one outside the station, of course, and this will run to here. We'll have it come across the bridge. It can share that station. It's going to be crowded, but for now it's fine. It can also share that station, and again, it's going to overcrowd, but for the time being it's fine. So that should work quite nicely. The overcrowding notwithstanding, of course, and that gives us a nice simple loop throughout Izumimachi, and that'll allow the people to get away from the station, or the residents over here to take the bus over to the station. So again, we'll just quickly name this, and this will be bus service Izumimachi Station. Wonderful. Now we can purchase the buses that we need. We'll use this one. It's a fair distance from the lines that they're running on, but that's fine. We haven't even purchased the train yet, so there's no real rush. So we're going for the Troika. That's the only thing we have available, of course. And for Izumimachi, we shall go for 4 Troikas. And they are that magenta colour. And then for Uwajima, I'd say we go for 6, because it's a much bigger town than Izumimachi. So yes, we'll go for the 6, and this is the sky blue colour. There we go. So now that's all set up, so the residents of both towns now have a way to get to their newly created stations. We can go ahead and put the train. Of course, before we do that, we need to actually set up the train line. Nice and simple. We're going to have one train for now. It's only a short run, just to get things started. We'll give it a different colour than that, however. I think we'll have this one the green colour. And this will be Uwajima Izumimachi Shuttle. That'll do. So now we can purchase our first passenger train. Class 5 Type 1. Passenger wagons, the Nicholas. And I think to start with, we'll just go for 2 coaches on this train. The speed's not the best, but the early game trains are not the best either, so there's not much we can do about that, aside from double heading at the locomotive. And I think there's no justification for that right now. Let's give this line a couple of moments to settle in, and we'll see how that develops over time. The water's expanded, or maybe that was when I was terraforming on this side, so we now have 2 random squares of water, but as we can see, the trains aren't bothered by that at all. It's just a graphical issue, so again, let's just pretend that it's not there. So the next call on this line is obviously going to be up here in Uenomori. And as I said in the last episode, this is going to be quite an interesting logistical challenge because of the landscape that we have around the town of Uenomori. My gut feeling is that we have our station up here, I think, because then we can have a nice viaduct over this little valley, cross over to this hillside over here, and then we'd run the passenger line on a higher level above this station, so it overlooks this station as it passes by. We'd have another viaduct over this industrial road here, and then we'd have it come back down to ground level, and then we would come into the hillside here. Now, how do we get from this point, because we have the cargo line to contend with, over to here? Well, let's see. If we were to come straight out, we could come over the top there, but as we can see, that's going up 20 meters, so it's quite a gradient. That's a very, very severe gradient, so that wouldn't work. What if we came that way? Still quite a gradient, but it's over a longer stretch of track, so it's not as steep as it was going straight on. It would enable us to have 75 miles an hour on the tracks, which is always important, especially on your passenger lines. You want them to be as fast as possible. How about that? So that's what, about, yeah, just under 700 meters, and it's climbing up 30 meters, so it's not too bad of a gradient, I don't think. The early trains would struggle, of course, but the early trains struggle with a flat gradient at the moment, so there's not much we can do about that. But that would work quite nicely. What would that viaduct look like right there? That's very steep. What? Oh no, don't do that. Although, that would work. Is that gone into a tunnel? No, it hasn't. That is, however. How's that? I'm thinking if we go something like that, but without the tunnel. Now that's snapping next to the cargo lines, which is something we definitely don't want. Okay, that's going to take a little bit of thought to determine the best way to handle that. What I am thinking right now is if we get rid of these roads here, nothing's built on them yet, so it's, well, that had, but that's fine. If we get rid of all those little roads, get our line, head out this way, the gradient is a lot more manageable. It's only 5 meters now, which is much more pleasant. Let's unpause it. If we head to there, could we pass over that tunnel? Yes, we can. Do we want a tunnel there or a cutting? Yeah, I think we'll have a tunnel there rather than a cutting. The last time we had a cutting, of course, when we tried to terraform the landscape, it made an almighty mess of everything. So we want to avoid that again. So using a tunnel there, it's fine. It clears the cargo line and it gets us onto the side where we want to be. Saying that, would we be better off staying on this side, bridging over this little road and this little river here onto this side, and then coming in through here up to here? That might work a little better. In anticipation for all of that, what I'm going to quickly do is put a straight road here. We don't want a tunnel, thank you very much. We want it to be flat and with a cutting, because we're going to have a station up here. Very expensive, 600,000, but that's fine. Just take the edge off for that a little. I am conscious, of course, of the money that it's costing to do all of this, and it's only cosmetic. But if we then put our station up here, would this be a pass-through station? No, it wouldn't need to be. So we could have a passenger terminus station here. And if we had it, is that building level with the road's edge? I don't think it is. Oh no, it is. Near enough. Yeah, that's fine. And then what we could also do, not that, no. we could, hopefully this will work, have a road that goes straight on from here, like that, just to square the front of the station off nicely. And that leaves us nicely elevated for what should be a rather impressive looking viaduct. We're not going to be able to afford to build it right now, I shouldn't think, that with just 200,000, but we'll give it a go just to see what it's going to look like. Oh, that's because it's an invisible bridge. As soon as I select this, yeah, there you go, that's more like it. Well, it's not more like it, but it's more what I was expecting. That looks, you know what, I like that. Yeah, it's costly, but that's fine. It looks quite stunning. So if we had that there, obviously we can't afford to confirm that at this moment, but soon we'll be able to. And then instead of crossing over here, we could have a line run this way, stay up in the hillside over here, and then come over the river and the road before heading down and connecting in over here. Well, we can afford that viaduct now, so we'll quickly do that just so we know what we're doing. We'll also quickly extend this line out as well. You don't need to stay at a certain gradient anymore. And you can go to there. The tunnel works, well, it doesn't work because it's invisible, so we need to change that. So quickly pause it so we've got the money to do this before we have to pay our maintenance fees. There we go. Yes, as I was trying to say, the tunnel would work there because if the AI wanted to, they could expand the town over the top on the land up here, and then the train would just run happily underneath without interfering with anything. Let's unpause it again. Now we need to get this line and get it over this river and this little road here. So that's going to be another bit of a challenge, but I think we'll probably be best coming from this way and doing it from this direction. Now we want you to stay at your current height level, like that. This is all very costly, but it's gonna look rather splendid, I should think. Yeah, that's fine. Again, rather impressive and dominating looking viaduct there over the road. That's going to give some rather spectacular views to the passengers as they are travelling between the two. Not that they care about that, of course, but when we're doing the cab rides, it would be nice for us as well. Now, how much would it cost to do earthworks there? Quite a lot. We don't want to start curving that much just yet. So we're now heading into a tunnel there, but we're maintaining the same height. How does that look? We delete some of these trees just to open up the panoramic view as we're travelling through, but yeah, that'll work. Can't afford it, we just paid some maintenance fees, of course, so wonderful timing as always. But the idea now, of course, is as soon as we can confirm the construction of this, we're then going to take it out over this river and these roads, bring it in, hopefully we can get it into this little bit here, and then connect it up to there, and that should be all okay. And then we have a connection to Uenomori as well as Uenomori. While we're waiting for the money to accumulate, we'll just have a quick look over here. So we still have a high volume of traffic here between the two cities. We do have some pickup on our passengers already. 12 people waiting in Uenomori. Over in Uejima we have 3, but the train has just departed. 10 out of 26, it's made a small profit there. Okay, apart from its first couple of years, we do have a profitable, viable service right here, so that's pleasing to see. The bus service is also picking up very, very nicely as well, which is always a positive. Let's quickly head back over here now. We have a bit of money available. We should be able to do a little bit more with this. We might not get this finished today, but at least we know what we're looking to do in the next episode. That's fine, it's dropping down 5 meters, but we're going to need to start dropping down at some point anyway, so no worries about that. However, that's probably dropping off too much. Let's bring it up just a little. That's going to cost 400,000 for that tunnel, and what's the gradient like? 10 meters, but it's spread out over the 328 meters, so yeah, it's tolerable, even if for the initial trains that we have it's going to be a bit of a struggle for them. What do we have? Oh, we have the Class T Type 1, 34 miles per hour. I'm going to go ahead and assume straight away that will be a big improvement over our existing train, which is the Class 5 Type 1. And let's just have a look. In fact, if we go to the Stone Freight Line, we have 2 trains on that, so we can do a side-by-side comparison quite easily. So if we were to double head it with that new train, look at that, it's a lot more powerful. Let's just send him to the front there, that's better. Yeah, it's a lot more powerful. What would it be like with just 1 locomotive? Well, it's already an improvement, isn't it? Big improvement. Could we afford to do both trains at the same time? Not quite. Now we can, so we may as well do that straight away while we have the money there. It'd be a shame. I'm not sure I'm happy with the way it's painted that train. Let's just have a look at it here. Now it looks like the train was taken and just dipped in a big tub of grey paint. But it is what it is. So that's fantastic. Good to have the a new locomotive up and running already. The passenger train would definitely benefit from having a new loco if we can afford it, of course. 326, so it's not too expensive. Obviously we are selling the Class 5 Type 1 at the same time, so it's offsetting the cost just a little. But we still can't afford it, but cash flow is looking good, up to $1 million now, so it shouldn't take long before we can afford it. And then of course we'll do our cargo freight trains as and when we're able to do those. However, at this point, ladies and gentlemen, I think we'll leave things for today. We've got our first passenger lines set up between Uenomori and Uenomori, and that's already doing quite nicely for itself. The profits keep on growing year on year, which is fantastic. Bus lines are working quite well, even if they're not the most efficient or the best suited lines for now. As I said, when we get the money to do so, we'll demolish ourselves a nice open area in the centre of Uenomori and build a large passenger central station somewhere around here, or around here somewhere very central. I'm thinking this would be best, although it'd be a lot of residences that go. That's fine. And then we can start doing our lines, our bus lines I should say, a lot more logically and hopefully a lot more efficiently at the same time. Between episodes I will go ahead and sort out this god-awful mess right here. Might be a bit tricky to do that, but I think it should be okay. Yeah, I'll find a way to sort it out. And then in the next episode we'll finish off what we started with this line here, taking it over to Uenomori. So a bit of a weird point to end it here, but I am conscious, of course, of the length of the video. So that's why I've decided that now is a decent enough time to end for today. Hope you enjoyed it regardless, even if we have left it a bit of a weird place. It's not a natural place to leave it with a half-constructed line. But there you go. Like I said, I am conscious of the length of time that this video is going to run for. So all that remains for me to say is, as always, ladies and gentlemen, take very good care of yourselves. We'll hop on board our passenger train, we'll have a little ride, we'll go there and back, it's only a short distance, and yeah, we'll pick it up in episode number 5. I had to think then for a moment. So let's hop on board. All that means for me to say is, as always, ladies and gentlemen, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.